Hi, today we're going to talk about the self-made business owner versus the God-made business owner. You're about to take on a great challenge, and running a business is no joke. Um, there's some times where you're going to feel like giving up, and there's a, there's two different types of people that we're going to talk about today. One has a very self view, and one has a view with God. I know that there's an equation that some people put together, and that is business is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. I like that, but that leans more towards the self-made individual. I'm going to give you a new equation. Business is 100% ordination. In other words, God called you into business, and God will take care of all the things that you need. So let's talk about the self-made business owner first, and just write down some characteristics. There's a lot, by the way. All right, so I'm going to start up high. Um, the self-made business owner looks at their own problem. Their own problem is the problem, and it's usually that the business owner doesn't have money, or the business owner got fired, or some other tragic situation, and they're in business all of a sudden. Um, so this is they're trying to solve their problem of something going wrong. All right. The second thing is the business owner looks at the audience, will solve the problem. So their audience, they're looking for the audience to give them some cash, donations, or what have you, in which they're relying more on their audience to solve their problem of not having any money. Um, the third thing is they look at solutions that solve their problem. All right. So instead of solving and resolving someone else's problem, they jump into a business that isn't their gift. They may jump into a business that they think can make them lots of money, and so they try to do that, and this thing usually doesn't work very well. All right. Number four, they look at people as servants. Everybody who works around them, for them, that they contract with, is their servant. And so usually they bark out a lot of orders, and want other things to make him or her successful versus being able to serve other people. Um, Before, let's look at this. They look at their own skills. Now, what they do with the skills, they look at it for adequacy. And sometimes they assess the adequacy of their skills as being, yes, I'm good enough to do everything. So they try to do everything, in which they aren't good enough to do everything. And on the flip side, sometimes they feel so inadequate that God has called them to this bigger thing, that they try to dummy it down to the skills that they currently have versus trying to get more skills. Um, they also look at single version. All right. They look at single version as the only version, and never make revisions. So a lot of people jump into a business and they stick with that same concept, even though it hasn't grown or they haven't made any modifications to it. They just stick with it. And God may be saying, hey, I called you into business, but I also want you to revise that business. in many different instances. Um, let's just take a look at this. Let's see if I can fit everything. They follow numbers. So the business owner that follows numbers, they look at they're following a lot. They look at all kinds of different numbers that make them nervous, and this is a really difficult thing from a self-made perspective because they're looking at things from, oh my goodness, I'm not doing well because my numbers may be low, but you may be doing better than you think. And the last is they look at having the answer. And the self-made person never asks any questions. They always have the answer, but never asks any questions to get that answer. And so when you start looking at the self-made person, they have a problem of their own. Their audience usually solve that problem. The solutions that they come up with also solve their own problem, not anyone else's. They treat people as servants. Their skills, they look at their own skills as either being adequate to solve problems or inadequate, and they don't go out and get any help. They only look at the one version, one time, and one failure point, and they never make any revisions to get out there and do something different. They look at numbers quite a bit, especially in the following area, and they get very nervous or mad at God because the numbers aren't bigger, and they always try to provide the answer. So let's come up with something different. There's a different way to look at this, and that is the God-made way. By the way, you are beautifully and wonderfully made by God, and so being able to recognize that He has a specific style that He made you with is the beginning. All right. So instead of the way the self-made person looks at things, the God-made person has certain things. There's a difference. They have a God first leadership style. So God first leadership style is they care and they are fair. They live and they give. They care for their customers, and they're fair with their pricing. They're fair with their deals. They're fair with what they do. They are also generous, so they give and they live. They're generous and they live for God constantly, and this makes them more successful because they are also living for God always. The second thing is they are faithful. A faithful leader. And when I say faithful, they are filled with faith. And so they don't always see what's going to happen, but they have faith in God. They give God all of their problems, and they believe in His power to solve those problems. They act with immediacy. When I say act with immediacy, when God says to do something like give something to someone, they immediately do it without asking God a whole bunch of questions or wondering if they need to do something. They don't have to study. The temptation to control everything and everyone, that's gone. So the faithful leader does not have to control people, and they don't have to control the situation either. They understand that God has a plan, and they are on that plan, and that's it. All right. Third thing that this group has is they're trusting. All right. This is a trusting leadership style. This type of leader puts their total trust in the Lord, and they understand that He has everything in control. Um, they do this by a few different processes. They pledge that they will not give up. You have to pledge, I'm not going to give up. Whatever I come up against, I'm not going to give up. So they pledge first. They also plea. When I say plea, they ask God for everything. Any and every problem that arises, they say, I don't have the resources. I need you, Lord. I don't have the knowledge. I need you, Lord. I don't have the customer base. I need you, Lord. They give everything to God. And the last thing is they pray. Now I say, I know you're asking for stuff, but every single day you're praying for different people. You're praying for your customers. You're praying for your business. You're also praying for all people around you and your family. You're praying, and walking with God. So they pledge, plea, and they pray. All right. And the last is they are humble. They have a humble leadership style. And the humble leadership style is that they are confident in God's power and not their own power. They're capable because they know that God gave them the gifts and talents, and they also are customized because they listen, and before giving an answer, they want to listen to the people. So they're confident, they're capable, and customized, and they understand that God is in control through the whole period. So when I look at this, you look at the list, and it's a lot shorter than the self-made group, because the God-made person understands that God is first, that it takes faith to run a business. You have to put your trust in the Lord, otherwise nothing will work. And the humbleness is that they have their confidence in the Lord. What do you notice about the two lists? Well, I know one is shorter than the other, but you also look at the self-made person is more focused on self. The God-made person is more focused on God. And so this means that the God-made person is looking at God's kingdom, and he wants, or she wants, to grow God's kingdom to make sure that the kingdom is first, and then my business will grow and thrive. And why do we discuss this journey? Because once again, you're going to run into situations that are very, very difficult, and you're going to need some people. You're going to need your customers to give input. You're going to need your audience to be served. You're going to need resources for your audience as well as your business. And so if you're thinking about other people first, God will go ahead and bless you with what you need. All right. So as you start moving forward, please consider being a God-made individual and have these 4 leadership styles in your toolbox. Okay? Be well, serve well.